What's up, Mike? How are you? Good morning.
Hey, I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
We are doing well. Good to hear from you. We know you're busy, especially this time of year, so we appreciate the time. Am I a big giant sucker falling for all of the Jayden Daniels hype? I like after he was drafted, everybody's like, "Oh, it's going to be C.J. Stroud and the Texans. This possible playoff run, lift the fortunes of the franchise." And I was like, "Let's not get crazy. He's a rookie. The C.J. Stroud thing was an outlier." But all of the buzz coming out of Jayden Daniels out of camp has been pretty damn positive. Now, we haven't seen him in a single game yet. We're going to see that over the weekend as they take on the Jets. Am I crazy for falling for the hype and thinking he could elevate the Commanders to close to Houston Texans level with Stroud last year?
I mean, I don't want to say you're crazy. You might be a little bit just desperate after all these years of suffering.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a lot of good stuff that we're hearing, that we're seeing. And again, it's training camp practices, so you can't take a whole lot from it. But everything does seem like it's in the most favorable and positive position that it's been in a long time for this franchise. And if you look at some of the veterans they've brought in, the guys he's also got around him that they had coming back, that, okay, you do see why maybe this thing could work out. But again, it's training camp. We don't know. There's questions. Their offensive line is, a work in progress. He does have all the guys he needs to throw to. He's got the running backs support. The defense, they've got some good pieces on there. They still have some deficiencies as well. So I don't think they're quite in as good a position as the Houston Texans. But I think we'll see improvement, and I think that we'll see enough out of this kid to feel good. And maybe by the end of the season, because look, they might take some lumps, but I think that things are going to be trending in the right direction. So if it's not this year that they make a surprise push for the playoffs, I think that if they continue to do what they're doing, they could be in position next year.
Mike, you mentioned his wideout room, and we all love Terry McLaurin. I feel like his numbers would be 20 to 25% higher across the board if he had even average quarterback play. He's had abysmal quarterback play since he's come into the league. But they need a bounce out of Jahan Dotson in year 3. Year 1 looked really good, even though he suffered a hamstring injury, missed a handful of games. Year 2 under Bieniemy was just weird and kind of dysfunctional. For this offense to really hum and help out a rookie quarterback, Dotson has to have a big year 3. And he's talked about it. He's addressed it during camp, too.
Yeah, no, they absolutely need a lot of him. And again, like you said, last year was just weird. The agendas, the conflicting agendas between head coach, offensive coordinator, it was not a good situation that, any young player was in when you've got, dysfunction, but we know dysfunction well here. So, yes, they need Jahan Dotson to really take his game to another level. I think that Cliff Kingsbury is, the perfect guy to bring all this stuff together. He's super creative. I know that his head coaching stint in Arizona was not what people had hoped, but I think just being able to focus on the offense and focus on designing and building this thing around Jayden to his strengths and maximizing everything around him will be good. They also, I know Zach Ertz is, getting up there, but they have a proven tight end instead of kind of, a project tight end that can't stay healthy, which was, last year. So they've got pieces around him. And then you throw in Austin Eckler, catching passes out of the backfield, and, Robinson running the football. Again, they've got good stuff around this quarterback. And again, if Dotson has a big year, that takes pressure off of McLaurin, and, they should be able to move the ball and put up some points.
All right, I hate to bring it up because we've brought it up so many times on the show, but it is one of the biggest stories in the NFL. What's your read on this Brandon Aiyuk situation? How's it going to play out?
Well, I mean, I think that really the 49ers don't have a ton of power here, and Brandon Aiyuk is the one with all the power because no team is going to want to trade for him if they can't sign him to a long-term deal. And he was not interested in going to New England from what it sounds like, and so that's why they fell out. The Browns had, a deal in place reportedly, and doesn't sound like he has interest in going there. So it sounds like the Steelers are still the team that might have the best chance. But again, there's nothing in place right now. So who knows if it's just all flirtations and then they wind up having to, this thing falls apart. If I had to bet, I would say he winds up getting out of there. But again, if the 49ers just ask for a really high asking price to try to just make sure this thing doesn't happen, that's the one thing they can do.
Yeah, I mean, can't the Niners just say, look, we like you. We just clearly don't love you because we're not going to extend you for $28 or $30 million a year. We don't think you're that sort of player, and just play out the last year of his deal. And if he's not in their future plans, too bad. I mean, they're trying to make a Super Bowl run this year. Like, trading him for future assets doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to help them this season.
Yeah, but at the same time, they have to figure out, okay, is it better for us to have this money that's tied up in a guy who's not going to play, or, should we, move him and get some assets? I wish that it was as simple as them saying, no, dude, come on, sit down.
Right.
We want you. Let's get this thing. And, you kind of wish, like, I know the fans are like, dude, we're this close to a Super Bowl. Why you want to get out of here now? But also, these players, their earning opportunity, their years to get a maximum deal are small. And so for him, he's like, guys, like, I've done all this and you don't want me. So then if you don't want me, let me get out of here. So I understand both sides, but you do wish that they could just be like, hey, man, like, it's one more year. Let's convert some more of this to more guaranteed money and then take care of this later. But it's never as simple as it seems like it should be.
So obviously this past draft, a lot of quarterbacks went early. We talked to you about Jayden Daniels. What are you hearing about Caleb Williams in Chicago? Is he going to be ready to go? I mean, he's got great receivers there. Is that going to be a team that's going to be a threat in the NFC?
Well, I mean, you got to look at the division they're in. Everything does look good that they put around him. They did a much better job of surrounding him with talent and support than what they did Justin Fields. He's got to be a little salty this offseason as he looks like, oh, now you get an offensive line, now you get more weapons. And, I would have loved to have had this stuff. But, the guy's new regime and everything like that wasn't the same guys who drafted him. So I think that he will be good for them. I think that, he's going to also be a rookie and take some lumps. But they will be moving forward, but I don't see them really threatening either Detroit or Green Bay. And Green Bay, I think, is a team that's kind of a little bit of a sleeper. They went on a hot streak to end the season, upset Dallas, was very close to beating the 49ers. And from the sounds of things, they, when I talk to people around the league about, okay, who are we overlooking? They say, hey, Green Bay. They could wind up leapfrogging Detroit, really causing trouble for a lot of teams. So look out for them. So I don't see the Bears being able to overtake either one of those two teams. They'll be interesting. They'll be intriguing. But, it is a rookie quarterback and a lot of new pieces getting put together, and those other teams are just further along in their process.
Joined by Mike Jones, NFL writer for The Athletic, @ByMikeJones on Twitter. So the Malik Neighbors buzz is building in New York between the Hard Knocks show on Max right now and the highlights that we keep seeing from training camp and the joint practice that they just had with the Detroit Lions. I mean, they're going to lean into him. He was the number 6 overall pick. Brian Daboll needs to have a winning season, I would think, to keep his job. Same with Joe Shane as the GM there. Talk about how important Neighbors is to that offense, and it's a real vertical threat that Daniel Jones, I can't remember him having a guy like that on the roster to throw to over the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, it is great that they were thinking about a quarterback as we saw through the whole process, but there was they weren't going to reach on anybody. They had their mind set on what they wanted. If they were going to get a quarterback, and if they couldn't get that quarterback, they were going to go and get weapons for their offense for now and for the future quarterback. I don't have a whole lot of confidence in Daniel Jones, even if you do have a really great quarterback, wide receiver to throw to. I think that, Brian Daboll is creative and he should help, but he is not a miracle worker as far as being able to fix what's in between Daniel Jones's ears. And so I don't know. We'll see. It looks great on Hard Knocks, but there's nobody coming to take Daniel Jones's head off. and it's a lot different once you get to the live games and things like that.
Are you hearing any buzz from people around the league about, like, I was just stunned at how revealing the Hard Knocks with the Giants was. I mean, I thought it was fantastic television. But Daniel Jones has got to be battered and bruised from just seeing sort of how reluctantly they're going with him. Some of the other sort of nuggets that you got throughout that whole. I mean, I was blown away. I would think other teams. I mean, I guess they don't have much say in it. The league could just kind of make you do it. But man, they've got to be reticent to give that kind of. I'm thankful they did it, but man, teams aren't going to want to do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, if things go really bad for the Giants this year, it was almost like this is the rope to hang yourself with, Joe Shane. And so, I was surprised as well, just the way that we were able to. I mean, I guess it was during the off season, so there wasn't a whole lot else going on in the facilities, so they had to do that. But they did a great job of really taking you inside and seeing the dilemmas and the conversations and debates that teams have to have. But it doesn't look great for them at times, and you see the struggles and everything that goes into it. But it could all wind up kind of blown up in their face.
What about speaking of rookie quarterbacks? What are some of the other guys around the league that are still, I think, maybe more of a ways to go? The Bo Nixes, the Drake Mays, the J.J. McCarthy's. Where do those guys stand?
Yeah, I think that we're still super early. We're like a couple weeks into training camp. We haven't seen them in the preseason yet. But from what I hear, J.J. McCarthy is picking up things faster than what they expected. He didn't throw a whole lot as much as some of these other quarterbacks in college, but he's doing a good job as far as processing and taking on a heavier passing load. So we will see. Drake May is another one that, okay, they've got a veteran there. They don't have to play him sooner than he's ready. And we'll see here in the preseason how these guys do. But from what I gather, doing a good job as far as picking things up. I haven't heard anything like concerning, like, about this guy here or whatever. But I think it's a process and, again, little bite sizes. And the way training camps are now, even I was talking to, some front office people looking at their own teams, you have like one hard day of practice, a medium day, and then a walkthrough, and then you're off. And then whatever. So there's not the whole 5 straight days of hard work and things like that. So it makes it a little bit more challenging for them to get a feel for really where their teams stand. And so that's why, we're going to learn a lot once we get to the preseason.
So, Mike, on the other end of the quarterback age spectrum is the team the Commanders are facing in their first preseason game, the Jets, with Aaron Rodgers coming back from the Achilles injury. They've got a loaded team if he can stay healthy. Breece Hall in the running back room is a stud. Garrett Wilson, I can't wait to see what he does with an actual competent NFL quarterback delivering him the ball. We know they have a top 10 defense, but they have to get through the minefield known as the AFC. Do they have enough to get past teams like the Chiefs and the Ravens and, maybe a Bills team if they can figure out what's going on in their wideout room?
They have enough to get out of the AFC East if Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy, if the offensive line moves that they made, pan out. They brought in veteran guys to fortify that line. I was told by one rival scout, like, hey, we thought, you thought Garrett Wilson was good. Wait till he's got Aaron Rodgers. You're going to see him. He's going to make a huge jump this year. But again, so when you look at the teams, I think that the Bills are going to take a little step backwards. New England's in a rebuilding situation. The Dolphins are the teams that the Jets really have to worry about getting past. And, we'll see once it happens, the guys like the Chiefs and the Ravens, they're all established and they're, they know what they are. And there's a lot of questions still with the Jets. And so if Rodgers can stay healthy, they'll at least make it intriguing. They should have a chance. But to think that they can just go toe-to-toe with those well-oiled machines already, I don't know, might be a little bit optimistic, overly optimistic.
Mike, thanks as always for the time. We know you're super busy this time of year. We do definitely appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, of course. That's Mike Jones, NFL writer for The Athletic. Give him a follow on Twitter. @ByMikeJones is where you can find him.